Welcome to Candid Comments. This afternoon we have with us as a guest Rachel Curtis, and she is the director of the summer lunch program sponsored by SICM. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you,
So
Shirley.
nice that you could be here today. And I really don't think that people know a whole lot about summer lunch, so I'm going to ask you some questions and
Sure.
help us out. And first, but before that, could you just kind of talk a little bit about SICM in the area of summer lunch and how that got to be?
Sure. Well, overall, SICM, which stands for Schenectady Inner City Ministry, is an interfaith partnership. It was founded in 1967, and the idea was to pool the resources from many churches into one central hub, so that that central hub, which is now SICM, could distribute those resources in a more effective manner. So currently, SICM has 50 member congregations and 15 denominations are represented amongst those. So many of what they work on today are ministries of social justice and social service, and food insecurity is one of the main issues that we deal with. In that vein, we operate the largest food pantry in the county of Schenectady, and we also operate the only summer lunch program in the county of Schenectady. We focus in the city of Schenectady because that's what's qualified, and I'll explain that in a few. We also support the Schenectady Damien Center, which is a center for people affected by or infected with HIV and AIDS. That used to be under us. It's now under the umbrella of the Albany Damien Center, but we are supporters. And we recently began a community-supported agriculture, which CSA is the more common acronym that you would hear, at Yates Village, which is in the north side. And what happens there is that each week a local farmer brings 40 shares of produce, and residents from that community can receive a share for $10 on their food stamp card. So it's a nice addition to some of the other efforts that are already going on. The Vegemobile doesn't stop at Yates Village. So those are a couple of the programs that we support and work with.
So tell us about the actually the summer lunch program and how that works, and who gets supplied with that.
So the summer lunch program is actually part of the summer food service program, which is a federal program at the national level. It's run through the United States Department of Agriculture. Oh. So funding is through them, and then it gets filtered through the state. So we apply to the state to operate the program. And you're eligible if you have an area, which we do in Schenectady, where child poverty is above 50%, and also where children in the school district, more than 50% of them have to be eligible for free or reduced lunch. And so if those things are the case, then an organization can become a sponsor of the summer lunch program, and that's what SICM is. We're a sponsor of the summer lunch program.
So do they all go to like the high school and sit down and have lunch, or how does that program work?
Well, we actually, so 21 years ago we started the program.
Oh.
This is going to be our 21st summer, and it was in response to the fact that in the summertime many kids were coming to the food pantry. So it reflected a need for food in the summer for children. And so since then, 21 years ago, we started with one site, and then this summer we're going to have 45 locations throughout the city of Schenectady.
This is from one site to 45?
Yeah, over the course of 21 years. So it took some time, of course, to develop. But the fact of the matter is, and I'll just throw out some numbers, I know sometimes it's hard for people to digest them, but we have about 10,000 school-aged children in the city of Schenectady, and 8,000 of them qualify for free or reduced lunch. And I believe you've had the superintendent on a previous show, and he may have talked about the community eligibility provision, which now allows all children to eat for free, which is great because it's a designation, and now there's not as much of a stigma in getting a free meal.
Right.
But what do they do in the summer? I mean, they're getting this free meal during the school year, but in the summer there's a gap, and that's why the summer lunch program was created. And why it has expanded is in response to the fact that there are 8,000 children that are hungry in the summer, and we want them to go back to school nourished and ready to perform, because you really can't. I mean, if you think about it, when you're hungry, it's hard to concentrate, it's hard to be pleasant. So when you go back to school with nothing, no nourishment, then performance is down.
Well, but did you say 45 sites?
45 sites, yes.
How does SICM staff 45 sites. That seems like a lot of women, people
People
hours.
power, yeah, it is. Well, the program is really made possible through volunteers. We do staff each site. Some of the sites are self-run, meaning that the congregation will provide the staff and the volunteers all from their congregation. And so that's great, and that's a handful of them. The rest, we staff with our site supervisors, which are community members that we hire, and interns, which are typically 20-something college students. And then, so we'll have 1 or 2 point people that we place at the site. And then each week of the summer, which this summer it's a 10-week season, there'll be a different volunteer team at each of the sites. So volunteer team at the site, site supervisor or intern or both at the site. So we hire a fraction of the people that are actually working on the program. It's made possible, like I said, through volunteers.
So it's an intensive for volunteers, and you really can use as many as you can get.
Yeah, and with the expansion, in fact, we're still facing about 15 to 20 gaps right now.
So you're looking for...
So if any viewers out there are interested in volunteering, be in touch.
Fine, and I know that there's going to be a phone number put up. That
Yes,
they
and they can
get in touch
certainly
with
reach
you.
us by that.
Yeah. Now, you said summer interns and supervisors. So they just arrive, or how does that work?
Well, we do provide training. So, for example, this week we'll have our site supervisor training, and that will be at the downtown library, and it's a 3-hour training. We'll have a representative from the YMCA who's going to do some CPR and child safety training, and then we also have another group called the Parent Network of the Capital District.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they're going to do a session on how to effectively deal with behavioral issues if they were to arise at a site. And it's not very common, but sometimes it gets hot, and there's certain rules that we have to adhere to because it's a federally funded,
Right.
state-funded program. And as Reverend Phil would say, and he's the executive director of SICM, that the good news is we get funded by the government. The bad news is we get funded by the government.
Exactly.
So in that regard, we have to adhere to certain rules.
There's a framework that
Yeah.
you have to work within. Yeah.
So, and then the intern training is next week, and they will also have a child safety and CPR component. So we go over all the USDA guidelines that we have to follow. We go over the procedure of what happens from when they arrive to the site until they leave the site. We go over the YMCA will do the CPR as well as the child safety training, and then for the site supervisors, they'll have the separate component regarding the children and behavioral issues.
Right.
So we definitely provide training. You can't just, it's actually one of the rules too by the USDA that you have to provide training to all of your volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
All volunteer groups send a representative to a volunteer training, which we've already had.
So is there also, because of the diversity that would be involved with doing this, is there any kind of sensitivity training to the various different cultures that might be represented?
Well, actually, a component of the training as well this year we started, we touch upon cultural competence. And the fact of the matter is that we have very distinct groups working on the program. We have site supervisors who are typically community members.
Mm-hmm.
They have knowledge of the community that they're serving, and they're an intrinsic part of the program. Then, like I said, we have interns who are typically 20-something college students who may or may not have any experience with inner city youth and poverty, which are issues that we deal with. And then we have our volunteers who are typically, they're either from a congregation or a local business or retired, but in most regards they are working professionals or have some type of connection to that world. So there are very distinct groups. And then we have the children and their parents who come to the sites.
Right.
So sometimes, with differences can breed often challenges in communication. And so we just remind everyone to be mindful of one another and to know that maybe they come from different groups, but this summer when they're working on the program, they're all part of the SICM Summer Lunch group.
Sure.
So
And
in that respect, if everyone gets along and works well together and respects one another, compassionately, with dignity, then we can serve hungry children, and that's the main goal.
Sure. Well, it seems to me that I read somewhere, heard somewhere, now you have sites, but then you have food brought to certain sites
Yes.
on a like, I want to say bus, but that's not what I want. A van or something.
Mobile food truck, we've
yes.
been calling it, yes.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, we started mobile service delivery. In addition to our fixed sites, we started this mobile service route.
Ah, okay.
So 2 years ago, we rented a mini school bus just to see how it went, and we decided to choose 6 different locations throughout the city where we could not have a fixed site. So somewhere that wouldn't accommodate, a lawn, or it wouldn't accommodate for an hour and 15-minute serving.
Mm-hmm.
So, because a lot of times we'll have them on church lawns or in municipal housing complexes or at parks. But there are many spots where there are children, but there just isn't something where we could have a site. So this vehicle went from stop to stop, and it stops for 15 minutes and serves lunches that way. So 2 years ago, we served 7,000 meals in that capacity. So last year, we decided to add a second route, and so we had a total of 12 stops. So last year, we were able to serve 14,000 meals just through the mobile service delivery.
That's just with that,
Yeah.
not the fixed sites.
Yeah, in total, it was 65,000 meals.
Oh.
But just with the mobile service, it was 14,000, which is huge,
Mm.
So this year, we actually received some funding through the United Way of the Greater Capital Region, and the Wright Family Foundation, Carlillian Foundation, and the Upstate Conference of the Methodist Church. All of those together so we could buy our own vehicles, our own food trucks.
Collaboration pays off.
Collaboration, literally. So we'll have our own vehicles this year, so people should look out for them because they're going to be wrapped with our logo, and it'll explain what it is. And it's going to be really nice. They're at the dealer right now getting fitted for our needs. So
and they
we're
can
pretty
keep the
excited.
food cold enough and everything.
Well, actually, this year we'll have refrigeration. In the past, we have not.
Uh-huh.
But this year we will. So we'll be able to offer a wider selection of food. At the fixed sites, we offer cold and hot food. On the mobiles, we can't offer hot food.
Right.
We had to offer only shelf-stable the past 2 years, but this year we'll have a refrigerator on the truck so we can do juice and some cold sandwiches and things. So it is nice. And we've also added a couple extra stops with the mobile routes, so we should probably be reaching even more children than last year.
Now, they don't have to show any particular credential or anything. They can just come and get the food.
Absolutely. Anyone under the age of 18.
Under the age of 18.
Individuals with disabilities can get a lunch up to the age of 21.
Uh-huh.
But generally speaking, we serve 18 and below. So, and no, we don't card people. It's normally pretty obvious, whether somebody is over 18 or not. I mean, it's not always obvious, and sometimes
Right, and sometimes it's the other way. You think they are, and they're not.
But
So,
in fact, we do struggle getting teens to come to the summer lunch sites.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we don't really even have a lot of teenagers that come. We would like more teenagers to come because there is no shame in getting a free lunch if you can. I mean, why not? But sometimes, there's younger kids often at the sites.
Now, let me ask you this. When the fixed sites, they come and they get food, are there activities or anything else to hold them kind
Yes.
of there so
Yep.
that...
Well, this is what is great about the program. It really is a collaborative effort. In addition to the volunteers and the funding, we partner with local organizations who are already doing summer enrichment activities.
Ah.
So the YMCA, for example, the Boys and Girls Club, they have the enrichment activity covered. They're doing the pool, they're doing the camp, so we'll partner with them, coordinate our schedules so that we'll make sure we have lunch at that location at a certain time.
Right.
And actually, in fact, the YMCA downtown, right around the corner here on State Street,
Right.
they're having a new summer program this year, and so we coordinated with our mobile vehicle, which will stop there at a certain time so they can come out and get lunch and bring it back inside and have it. And that's just one example of many. A lot of it is kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's of what else is going on this summer and who can we partner with, because one of the challenges is funding. I mean, it's fairly decent, but we don't have a lot of staff, and we're seasonal too. I mean, I've worked throughout the year, but most of the summer lunch staff is seasonal, and so when we're serving 2,000 meals a day, it kind of takes all of the staff that we have to get that part accomplished. It's hard to then add activities as much as we would like to.
Right.
Frankly, it's not always possible, especially with the expansion.
Now, it seems like I remember last year you added another SICM added another component with a day camp kind of a program that fits with the lunch program.
SICM began, it's an offshoot of Camp Fowler, which I believe is located on Speculator Lake.
Yeah.
And so it's an offshoot of Camp Fowler, and it's a satellite program at Steinmetz Park, which is on Lennox Road in the north side. And so that was a day camp that they began last year. And they'll continue to do so this year. And yes, we coordinate the summer lunch program with that day camp. And there's also a Boys and Girls Club, I believe, camp going on at the same location. So we feed all those children.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that is really. Is there now? You've already mentioned, sort of talked about some of the challenges. Are there other challenges to having this program that you see and that maybe could be more help for?
Well, as I kind of mentioned, we have expanded. This summer, we're up to 45 sites. I mean, that's fixed and mobile combined. But so because of that, we have like a pool of volunteer groups that we've always counted on. And all of them, of course, come back year after year, and that's great. But we have more slots.
So you really need more.
We do need more volunteers.
That's one of the big challenges.
Yes, yep. And I will mention, too, is it's a reimbursable program. So every meal that we serve to a child, every first meal, and that second meals don't count, every first meal we serve, we get a reimbursement from the state, which comes from the USDA,
Good.
like I was explaining. But it's a low dollar amount, and it needs to cover the meal, and then it needs to cover the overhead, so the administrative costs, all the supplies that go into it. I mean, there's more than just serving a meal, and that's it, you know.
Right. Well, you have to prepare everything before you even take it out there. And,
yeah. And so the quality of food that we can purchase with that dollar amount, you know, we do meet all of the requirements: grain, meat, dairy, vegetable, and fruit. You know, we meet those requirements, and it's comparable to a school lunch. And I'm sure a school district would say the same thing. It's that, you know, I would love to serve, you know, and we did make some changes this year. We have more local bread and milk, and we eliminated a couple of the condiments and things that were kind of unsavory. But one of the challenges is having enough funding to actually do exactly what you want to do. And I know that is the case for many nonprofits, so I'm not crying myself a river.
No, but it's true, and it seems like as the resources shrink, the need climbs up, and it's
Isn't
very
it counterintuitive?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does seem that way. Now, when you talk about volunteers, can just anybody volunteer? I mean, is there a particular criteria that you're?
Well, we first ask them to contact us, of
Right.
course. You can't just show up to a site and volunteer. We do a training as well. And we typically, we open it up to really any group that's interested. A lot of times individuals will contact us, and we'll try to pair them with other individuals.
Sure.
So that we essentially have a group, because it really isn't just like an individual slot. Like I said, each site needs like 3 to 4 volunteers per day, per week. So so they would contact us, and then we would go through kind of, you know, just see if it's a right fit, essentially, you know.
Right.
And oftentimes it is, but we do ask if it's, you know, say a teenager, you know, maybe a middle school to teenager, we have them come with parents.
Right.
If it's a group of high school students, that's okay, you know, but there are different, you know, guidelines we like to.
So they might have a key club that wants to do it or something like that.
Yeah, and if they're high school students,
Right.
then we would normally take a group
Right.
of them. But a lot of times there'll be a representative from that group as well, that is kind of like responsible for those teens.
Right, right.
But a lot of people are looking for opportunities to volunteer in the summer, and you know, the calls start flooding in. You know, people do want to volunteer, especially with students who are trying to get certain hours for honor
Yes,
societies, etc.
yes.
So we do get them. It's just, I think that we're a little nervous because we're starting in 2
I was
weeks.
just going to ask you that. I knew it was getting close.
Yep.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from yesterday, we start, is the first day, June 29th, Monday.
So
Yep.
you really would like to see that pick up a little bit
Yeah,
with the
yep.
volunteers. Yeah. Well, now, you said you don't get many teenagers. Is there kind of an average age of kids that show up, or?
Well, yeah, I would say the average is probably 10 to 12 or so, because a lot of them are part of day camps that are going on, and there's normally an age range for those. We don't have a lot of little guys, and we don't have a lot of teenagers, so it's kind of like that middle age range. Maybe I would say 8 to 12 would be like a safe range, but we don't take any data, so we simply count the meals that we serve. So we don't know
Actually,
ages.
who's
Yeah,
really coming.
exactly.
Now, parents can bring their kids and just wait for them? Or,
Yep.
When I say parents, probably like babysitters and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We welcome anyone to come to the site. We can't serve over 18.
So tell me, what's in an average, pick a lunch, and what would I get if I was a kid coming?
Well, if it was a Tuesday, you would get a ham turkey sandwich. So it's turkey, it's ham made out of turkey. I don't know why they don't just call it turkey, but it tastes like ham, but it's made out of turkey. We don't serve pork products.
Mystery meat again, huh?
Yeah. And actually, this summer we will have, like I said, some changes in the menu. So on Tuesdays there will be local lettuce on the sandwich, and the bread will come from Rockland Bakery, which is in New York State. And you would get a mustard packet to put on there. We eliminated mayonnaise because it wasn't very good, and it's just not very good for you either.
Right? No, yeah.
And you would get a juice box, and that's 100% juice, normally apple, cherry, or grape. And then a milk, which is also from Burn Dairy, so that's New York State as well.
Right.
You can chocolate or low-fat white. And then, I don't know exactly what fruit would be served, but say it's a peach, that'd be good. That will be one of the fruits that we serve.
Quite substantial.
Yep. And then a bag of baby carrots. And then a snack, which is what we provide. It's not part of the, SICM does an extra item in the lunch that we cover.
Uh-huh.
And this year that will be either baked Lay's or baked Doritos or graham crackers.
Uh-huh.
So
I notice you say baked as opposed to being deep-fried things.
Yeah.
So
they're still good, and they're better
Right.
for you, and
but there is an
less
intent
ingredients, less calories, so they're definitely better.
There is an intent to make it as healthy as possible.
Within the restraints of the small,
Right.
very, very small budget that you
Right,
can use
right.
for each lunch, yes.
Now, you also mentioned, what were those initials, the acronym, something about vegetables and farm fresh?
Produce. CSA,
Yes,
Community
CSA,
Supported
that's
Agriculture.
right.
Yeah. So CSA is a Community Supported Agriculture, and it's a model that we, typically what happens is at the beginning of a season, a group of individuals or families will sign up with a farmer and pay them upfront, say $500, so that each week of the season they can get a share of farm fresh produce.
Right.
There's normally a designated location you go to pick up your produce. Roxbury Farms is a common CSA around here. Many people probably know about. So we had a farmer from Schoharie approach us to say that he wanted to do something different. He wanted to serve lower income individuals because he knows that not everyone can afford $500 at the beginning of the season. Many people can't. So we decided to focus on Yates Village, which is in the north side. It's on Van Vranken. And all of Schenectady is considered a food desert because in a city of 66,000 people, we have one grocery store within the city limits.
That's right.
And that's the Price Chopper on Eastern Avenue. But what's interesting is that Yates Village is the furthest away from that grocery store of all of the lower income communities.
Really a food desert.
Really far. And it used to have the Vegemobile used to frequent there, which is run by Capital District Community Gardens, but no longer goes there because of their limitations in budgeting and what they could do in Schenectady. So they don't go there anymore. So we decided to focus on Yates, and we actually started last week. And the idea is to sell 40 shares every Friday. Friday afternoon, farmer comes with his truck, drops off all the produce, we set up, people come, we put together their share, they pay $10 on their food stamp card, and they go home with their fresh produce. We are opening it up, though, to the north side in general. So if you don't have food stamps, you can get a share for $20.
All right.
I got a share myself last week.
So I could get a share.
You could get a share for $20. I got a share myself last week, and it's amazing. I mean, it's easily something you would spend $40 on. A huge bag of mixed greens for salad, a head of nice lettuce, bok choy, radishes, and scallions. And I mean, if I went to Price Chopper, I'd probably, or any grocery store.
First place, you might not even find it fresh like that.
Right. Well, yeah, it's organic
right
from a farm in Schoharie, so it's really nice. And so we're really trying to promote that more as well, because like any pilot, it's slow going at first.
Well, and it's sort of like let Mikey try it. I'm not really sure I want to do that. I'll see how so-and-so, how much they get. Oh, you got all of that? Well,
Right.
yeah. So
We're hoping it catches on.
I think that'll
Yeah.
be sort of like it. And the first year of anything is iffy and worth trying a second time.
Yep.
But I'm so proud of him that he thought to do that. That's a
Yeah, and
wonderful.
it's, like I said, SICM works on food insecurity with the summer lunch program and the food pantry. So,
So it really is a help.
yeah, absolutely.
So, well, do you have any other? Do you see any other changes down the road, or that you would like to see, that if there were resources that were available?
Well, I think that SICM is going to continue to grow with the need, and I'm really happy to be a part of it, and I think that there's more of a movement towards local and healthier foods going on, the food justice movement. I'm glad SICM is jumping on that bandwagon, and I just really appreciate all the support from the community, the volunteers. I'm happy to be in this role.
You having a celebration or something for volunteers?
Well, we're having a kickoff event for the overall summer lunch program, which kind of kicks off the season, and that's on Wednesday, July 8th at noon in Jerry Burrell Park. We invite everybody. Come. It'll be fun. We're going to have some different activities and do a little press conference and things of that nature. And then at the end of the summer, we celebrate the volunteers' hard work through an ice cream social. We hold that at the Central Park Pavilion.
Oh,
and that
that's
will
a nice
be
place.
the middle of August. So it's
Uh-huh.
Thursday, August 13th, I believe is the date. I have to double check that. There's so many dates I have to keep track of, and that
I'm
one's a little
sure.
further out. So
I'm sure, yeah.
actually, you know what? I have that information right here. Celebration for volunteers will be held Thursday, August 13th, 4 to 6, Central Park Pavilion.
So now if someone wants to volunteer, they could call you at 374-2583.
2683.
Oh, it does say 6.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
2683, and it's extension 108.
Yep.
And
Yep.
ask for Rachel.
Yep. And I just want to do a little kudos to Eileen Plotz and Kara Williams. They are the assistant summer lunch directors, and they
Excellent.
have done a phenomenal job so far and keeping me sane and keeping everything in order. And, we're really excited for a good season ahead.
Good. And well, it can be a very complex program
Yeah.
with all the little pieces that have to go in place.
Yep.
But I think that's really nice, and I'm so glad you could be with us this afternoon to kind of give us an overview. And I hope you get a lot of calls for volunteers.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you so much for
Appreciate
being
it.
here. Good to
Thanks.
see you.
Good to see you.
Okay.